Okay, so just a brief introduction of who you are, where you're from, and what your life looks like today.
Cool. My name's Tiata. I'm from Otaki. I was born and raised there. Um, I've just recently moved back from Brisbane. I was living there almost 10 years.
Fine. How
Um,
long you been home?
I've been home. I moved back on the 24th of April this year, the day before
Shit!
Anzac. Yeah,
Yeah, so you're
yeah.
not going through the yo-yo of quarantine and lockdown.
Nah. Yeah, as soon as Auntie Cindy gave us the heads up that we can come home, I
Out
booked
of
my
there.
flight, and yeah, now here I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what makes you want to share your story with CWK tonight?
Uh, I want to share this story because it's an important kaupapa to me. Um, it's also the reason why I'm on my journey of you know getting back to basics, which is being my true self,
Mm,
which is something that I felt, well, I feel like I've lost a part of me from being away from home for so long.
mm,
And it's also what's led to this kaupapa, which is, yeah, domestic violence. So, yeah, I think it's important to share that. And I think it's important because they're not conversations that we like to have. I
yeah.
think as being Māori, it's very like, oh, let's not, we'll just shove that under the carpet kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Why
but
do you think we tend to do that?
I think because well, for me,
Yeah.
my own like opinion on it, it's a shame or like pride. Um, we don't want to talk about those things because it's showing people our weakness. You
Mm,
know, like if you feel some type of way, you don't really want to show that to someone else. Or um, like for me, like with my journey, like talking to, like, say, a psychologist or getting
mm.
help, counseling, all that. We don't do that. If we've got problems, you know, we just
Deal with it.
we deal with it
Mm,
in our own way. It's almost like it's a whakaaro Pākehā. It's not something that we do as
mm.
Māori. Um, and I think that's why it's so important to get the message out there that it is okay to
Yeah.
go out and talk to people. And also, not only that, just talk to your whānau as well. Because, yeah, I mean, we're quite a manaki kind of people. We like to kind of be open and
Yeah.
honest with each other, but we don't really look at, going through other avenues
Yeah.
to kind of find, the answers in that.
Oh, awesome. And where does your journey with domestic violence start?
The journey starts, for me, it starts at home. So I had a really good upbringing. Like, I can't fault my parents. Like, I have a lot of love and respect for them. But I witnessed a lot of domestic violence growing up. Um, I witnessed my brother getting bashed a lot as a kid growing up. And, for those of us from that generation where, it was normalized, you
Mm.
know, it was like, oh, yeah, your brother played up, so he's getting a hiding, and
It totally was, normalised.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it,
Mm.
it was normalized. Like, even as an adult, I didn't actually realize the harm that had done on my brother.
Yeah.
I didn't know the harm that it impacted me. Um, and you know, it's not normal to see that as like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Watching your brother getting bashed. Seeing things like violence was around when I was growing up. Like it was. There was a lot of drinking. Never those two together. So I can't say that violence was the result of drinking, because it wasn't.
Yeah.
But like I said, like for me, I'm big on you're a product of your environment. And because I witnessed that, and that's something that, you learn. That kind of, I feel like it's planted like a little seed in my, in my brain to kind of think that that's okay.
Yeah.
So that's where that, that started, watching that, growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, my household wasn't a Once Were Warriors, scene or anything like that, but watching that for a long period of time, it does have some harm on, it affects you.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, for me, that's where it started. And where it kind of, I guess, where that seed really kind of came to fruition, I would have to say 2019 was probably the darkest year that I've had in my whole life.
Fuck, that's not long ago.
That's not long ago, no. So when I moved to Australia in 2011, I lost my nan 2 years later. And that was probably like, the worst grief that I'd probably felt in like a really long time.
Yeah.
And anyway, I believe that kind of had some impact on me as well, like as time went on. And I'm one of those, if something's too hard, I tend to run away from it.
Yeah, hard.
So for me, like if something challenging happened, or if I was facing like grief, like once again, not asking for help, not looking at ways to deal with it.
Yeah.
I went back to Australia, abused alcohol, abused drugs, doing those things that, you shouldn't do, but I did it anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just dealt with it in my own way, was getting into relationships that were just, not really good for me.
Yeah.
And then I got into a relationship with, she was actually my friend, and I've known her for, what would it be, 7 years now. But I met her in 2014, and I met her through a relation of mine, and this was in the Gold Coast, so I'd probably only been, had only been a few years since I'd been there, but yeah, we were just friends. She's a sex worker, and that was all good. I mean, I'll be honest, I judged her straight away, as we do.
Yeah.
But not really knowing the backstory, that's my own insecurities, why I did that. Yeah. That wasn't, me, judging her, because, that's just me and my insecurities. So, anyway, we became friends, and I went away to Canada, stayed over there for a bit, just, traveling, because I like to travel. I get itchy feet. I don't like staying in one place. But my auntie passed away, and that brought me home. And I didn't decide to go back to Canada, so I went back to Brisbane. And her and I got together, and it was like because we were friends, and I'm not big on getting with friends.
Yeah.
But I won't say that we were like, really tight, like, because, we were more just like acquaintances. But anyway, we got together, and we, yeah, we like just went real. We just really just hit it off. Yeah. And then it kind of just went from there. It went from something being casual to me moving into her apartment.
Oh shit.
Like 2 months later kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was in a good job. And I was commuting from like Brisbane to Gold Coast. And, yeah. And it was just like, well, you know, you're commuting. Why don't you just move in? So I ended up moving in there. Big mistake doing that. Yeah. Well, because she was still escorting.
Yeah.
And I thought that, you know, because we, you know...
What, you would be the one to change that?
Yeah.
Or? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because I'm one of those, you know, if something's broken, I want to try and fix it.
Yeah.
And I, you know, just being, you know, like, oh, you know, I can save her.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't need to do this. She doesn't need to do that. But like at the same time, not realizing that you can't save people, because they've got their own journey.
If they don't want to be saved, especially. But yeah.
So, yeah. So, you know, moved in with her. Everything.
It's like you can't save someone if they don't think that they're drowning.
Yeah.
As well,
Or if they don't think that they need to be saved or want to be saved, But yeah, you're right. The red flags were there at the start, like even before I moved in. Yeah. And you know, I like, you know, when I really fall for someone, like that's it for me.
Yeah.
You know, it's game over. Like I don't, you know, I'm not someone who is like,
if you're in, you're all in.
If I'm in,
yeah,
it's all in or nothing.
Yeah,
with me.
Yeah.
And you know, there were just like, we had discussions. We were like, oh, you know, like this has to happen, that has to happen, and I feel like I kind of brung it on myself, but I was kind of like having these expectations.
Yeah.
And
that if you put your in, she should be putting hers in too.
Yeah. But it didn't quite work out that way. And there were a few instances where, you know, we'd fight and, you know, things would start getting physical. It started off really small at first. And it was actually reciprocal. So it wasn't just me being the perpetrator. I was actually a victim as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of just, it was just back and forth. But it got really bad when we decided to move to Brisbane because my mahi was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, work was in Brisbane for me, and she was actually wanting to start her own business in Brisbane, which was awesome. Like, you know, because how we actually came about, like how we got together, she actually told me that she wanted to get out of the sex industry and she wanted to start her own business. And that was kind of the mindset that she had at the time that we'd, you know, kind of like met up again.
Yeah.
And see, that to me, that's attractive.
Yeah.
You know, someone who knows what they want and will do it.
Yeah.
You know, will follow through. And like, she had all these ideas, and because of my background for mahi, she kind of wanted, you know, a bit of help because she doesn't have, you know, like book smart.
Yeah.
Like, she's street smart.
Yeah, hard.
But book smart, you know. Yeah. And I was kind of like, oh, you know, you need to do this. Like, networking's really important.
Yeah.
You know, just all that kind of stuff, all that kind of talk.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when she decided to do that, I was just like, cool, let's do this. So put a plan in place, and we decided to move to Brisbane. So when all that happened, you know, she gave up escorting. That was all good. But then that was replaced with drinking. And then, you know, it was like, okay, so one thing's gone, and now I'm having to deal with something else, which is drinking. And then I noticed that, you know, when she was drinking, she'd start, you know, getting
Popping off.
abusive. Yeah. And it started to become like a regular thing.
Were you drinking as well or no?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'd kind of like be like, oh, you know, you've given that part of away and then you've kind of like adopted something else.
Yeah.
Like, are you filling a void or, you know, and then, anyway, I'm really going on a tangent here, but, the first time that we had a proper fight was one night that she went out and we'd both gone out together and I went to go and get a feed and we went together. I went to the toilet, came back and she was gone. And I went looking for her, couldn't find her. And I went home because I had work the next day. And went home, you know, was calling her, texting her, didn't hear from her, nothing.
Fine.
And her laptop was at home, and I went on it.
Yeah.
And her Facebook was all logged in. And anyway, I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and I saw on her Facebook that she had called my cousin at 6 a.m, because I woke up at like 6. And I was like, hey, how is she making a phone call and she's not returning my calls or my messages?
Yeah.
So I messaged her and I go, where the F are you?
Yeah.
You better bring your effing ass home.
Ass home. Yeah.
Yeah. So she saw my messages and then 30 minutes later, she walks in the door. And she's got someone else's hoodie on. Like a hoodie that's not hers. And I was like, where have you been?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, like she was wasted. Like she'd obviously not been to sleep. And she's like, oh, I was in the city. And I was like, with who? And she was just like, oh, just some people that I met. And I was like, why did you leave me in town?
Yeah.
Like, I went to the toilet and I came back and you were gone. And she was like, oh, I couldn't find you. I'm like, yeah, you couldn't find me because I was in the toilet and I told you to wait here.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, nah, I was mad. And I was like, mad at what? And like, I feel like she was just making an excuse and I was just like, and then she kind of just like disregarded what I said and like went to bed. And that made me hoo-ha.
Oh, yeah. Well
Yeah,
done.
that set me off. So I grabbed her
Yeah.
by the hair. Yeah. I ragdolled her out of the bedroom, right?
Yeah.
And I smashed her. I gave her a hiding. And I wasn't proud. I didn't feel good about myself doing that.
Yeah.
But that was the only way I could react to the disrespect.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I can't
that's-
help but smile because I probably would have done the same thing. Definitely, actually.
And, you know, and it just was not a good feeling. So
Yeah.
that happened. The cops were called because we were kind of wrestling on the ground and I was kind of like, it was probably a good thing that the cops were called because
Could have
I could have,
escalated,
you know, who knows what could have happened. And so the cops were called. I actually grabbed a bag of stuff and I took off.
Yeah.
I didn't stay. And I called my cousin and I rang my cousin and I told her what had happened. And she was like, what are you doing right now? Where are you? I'm like, I'm on my way to work. Because, yeah, I had to go to work. And she was like, don't go to work. Come straight down here. Come to my house. And I was just like, nah, cuz I can't. I've got to go to Mahi. And that's the only way that I can really deal with things.
Yeah,
is just
yeah.
by distracting
Stay
myself
busy.
by
Yeah.
staying busy. So I went to Mahi And so that was the first one. And then the second one was
How did you like sort that out after that?
we didn't.
Oh,
Nah, we didn't really. Like I went back and we we had a discussion, obviously, because we lived together.
yeah,
And it just didn't really get sorted.
yeah,
And it's because we both, even though I felt really sorry, like I felt really sorry for what I'd done. And like she gave the cops a statement and everything. They took photos, and they issued me with a DV, and but we still stayed together.
yeah,
And that was just the start of it. But we didn't really sort it out, and I think it has a lot to do with our accountability.
yeah,
Like we're just not taking accountability for why things eventuated into that.
yeah.
And then there was another time where it was flipped, and she came home after we'd been with a few friends, and she came home and kicked our bedroom door in, like smashed the door, like kicked it, and there was like a hole through the door because I locked the door on her because she was goofing off because I was talking to a friend that I used to, like a girl that I used to work with, and she found out because I kind of kept it from her because I didn't really want to cause a raru at the time. And she was just like, have you slept with that girl? And I said no. So I lied. And then she later found out because she asked that girl, and she asked that girl's friend, and they had been like, oh yeah, like, yeah, something did happen. So she asked me, she was like, so did you sleep with that girl or not? And I was like, yeah, I did. So she came home, and she was obviously pissed, and I was like, well, I don't want to deal with that. So she kicked the door in, and then like I don't even know how it's physically possible to kick a hole in a door, but she did it, and yeah, we had a fight. She smashed me, and the cops were called. So that was another instance, but the one that really tops it for me was when we separated for a period there in 2019 for like a few months. I actually came home for a few months to kind of just toe like my way to her a bit, and then I went back. She was living with a friend, and I was living with a friend as well, but we were in the same building.
Yeah.
And she'd gone back, like she was escorting again. And we went out one night, and she was out, and she came back to my apartment, and I could tell just by what she was asking, she was starting to get agitated by, like, some of my answers, like, oh, who are you going out with? What did you do? Blah, blah, blah. Then she started an argument, and I was just like, okay, this is my first night in my apartment. Like, I've just got back to Brisbane. I don't want you in my apartment anymore. I want you to leave. Like I asked nicely, and she was like, no, I'm not gonna leave. I'm like, no, I want you to leave because you're being too loud. And because my new flatmate was asleep. It was like, after midnight, whatever. And I was just like, nah, I actually want you to leave. So the only way that I could get her to leave, I took her phone off her, and I was like leading her outside, and I was just like, no, like I want you to go. So she left, and she wouldn't go into the elevator. Like she was just standing like in the corridor and just like just being a nuisance. So I was like pushing her into the elevator, and I was just like, can you please just leave? Like, this isn't a good look. I've just moved into this place. So I'm like pushing her into the elevator. So she pulls me into the elevator, and she starts like she hit me on the ground, and she was like kicking me in the head in the elevator. So like we were 13 floors up. So by the time we got to the like almost to the bottom, I got up onto my feet, and then I kind of like grabbed her by like her neck, and I was kind of like, you know, trying to, I don't know what I was trying to do, but by the time the doors had opened, the cops were there.
Oh.
And then they can see me holding her, and you know, here's me, Indigenous, tatted up, you know, and then there's her, you know, Caucasian, blonde. Hey, so who are they going to arrest? Hey, so they arrest me. I go to the watch house, there overnight, and they were like, you know, you've breached your DV, this and that, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, you know, you've got to go to court, and I'm like, yeah. So I come back, and my flatmate's there. She let me in because I didn't have like my keys or anything like that. And she was like, what the hell happened? And I told her, and she was just like, you need to stay away from her because it's not good for you. Like, you know, you're still trying to get on your feet. And once again, you know, went back, didn't sort it, even though, you know, I was being dragged through the courts and all that.
Fuck, are you allowed to see each other when you go through that?
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
we're not.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I went through it, yeah, we had to be fucking separated.
Yeah, nah. But the thing is, the funny thing about that is, because I got a lawyer, and I said to the lawyer, I was like, I want you to get them to get the CCTV of the elevator.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And present it at my court case. So when the police got a hold of that tape, they then issued her with a DV as well when they got that footage, because they saw with the footage who actually initiated the attack.
Yeah.
So she was then issued with a DV, and then anyway, so yeah, I was just in and out of court. I probably went to court 4 times, 4 or 5 times in that 1 year. I was probably arrested 3 or 4 times through that whole year. One of them as well, which, yeah, that one is probably the most out the gate one, was 2 days before my birthday in 2019, when she attacked me. She punched me in the head because there was a video of me and one of my really good friends on Instagram. Like, you know, we were at an event and we were just, you know, like, we were drunk, you know, in a video, like, you know, doing what friends do. And she saw that video, and she attacked me because of that video 2 days before my birthday. And the funny thing is, I called the police, right? I called the police, they show up, and then we sorted things out. Like, within that small amount of time, the police come, and they were like, oh, you know, what's going on? I said, oh, no, nothing. It was a false alarm. And, like, they can see, like, there was, like, scratch marks on my neck. Like, I had, like, marks on my face. You know, she didn't say anything. And then they were like, oh, no, we still have to, like, you know, do something. So they separated us. I went outside. She stayed inside. We gave our, you know, statements. So we come back together, and the cops were like, okay, we're taking you, like me, we're taking you to the watch house.
Oh, Richard.
So they take me, right? And I get into the cop car. We're driving, you know, to the watch house, and the cop goes to me, okay, now tell me, what really happened. And I was just like, why does it matter? You're taking me to the watch house anyway. Like, what difference is it going to make? And he was just like, because I want to know what you have to say about what happened. Because she's given us a story. So I want to hear what you have to say. And I go, oh, she attacked me. She attacked me because she saw something that she didn't like. And then he goes, why didn't you just tell us that? And I was just like, because I don't want anything to happen to her. And he's like, mate, by what I can see, she doesn't care about what's going to happen to you. And I was just like, so he let me out. He dropped me off. Like, he didn't take me to the watch house.
Oh, man.
He dropped me off because he could see, you know. And I think it had a bit to do with my wairua as well, because, you know, I was just very, like, I don't know. He could just tell that there was something, you know, underlying about the situation. So he dropped me off at the train station and he was like, don't go back there. I'm dropping you off with the pretense that you're not going to go back there. That you're going to, you know, go to some family. Go, you know, do you have family? Go to them. It's just like, just don't, you know, just stay away. Well, who was the first person I called? I went back. And again, not dealing with those underlying issues, not having a discussion about, you know, why did you do that?
Why do you think you went back so much?
Comfort. You know, thinking that someone really has, you know, like your best interest at heart. And thinking that, you know, that they really, you know, that you really do, they really do love you. And I don't know why I kept going back.
Was it love? You think it was love? Did you feel like you really loved her and she really loved you?
I really loved her. I mean, I can't answer for her if she really loved me. But, you know, like I said, you know, it's one of those things where you just, it's just comfort. Just not wanting to, you know, feel alone or...
I only ask because I know that there's a lot of people that listen to this. I already know because I've been in your shoes too. So I know, but a lot of people that haven't been in our shoes that don't understand, why do you keep going back?
But it's the same question, like, why did she keep taking me back? Why did she keep opening up her doors, you know, and letting me in? Because, you know, like, I'm no victim. Like, I'm a perpetrator because I inflicted violence too. You know, that's something I have to deal with. And that's the first relationship where I've seen that side of me.
Yeah.
And it's a side that I don't want to see. You know, it's not a side that makes me feel good as a person. I
feel like it's sometimes, you know how sometimes you could have a chemical, but then when something's added to that chemical, it reacts.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes when two people come together, they're just absolutely fucking toxic for each other and bring out the absolute fucking worst in each other.
That's it.
But then there are also good times, and I don't know about for you, but through the bad times, you hang on to those good times because you know that they do exist in the relationship. It's crazy,
Yeah. But there were some good times. Like, when it was good, it was good. Like, we were on. But when it was bad, it was like, there was no middle.
Yeah.
Like, it was either like...
really, really good.
Shit hot.
Yeah.
Oh, it was freezing cold. Like, it was bad. So, it was just really just finding that balance. And that balance came probably... Yeah, so like that was in 2019 and that was probably like the worst I felt. That was around about the time where for the first time in a really long time that I actually felt quite suicidal. And it was like, and no one's ever made me feel that way before.
Yeah. Was that just all the court and all of everything, all that?
It was everything. I mean, the court stuff didn't really scare me that much.
Yeah.
Like, I had faith, and I knew that, you know, it wasn't really gonna impact me that much. Like, even though I did worry at the time.
Yeah.
But it was all just the other things that were kind of just like circling around in my brain.
Yeah.
You know, about, oh, you know, why is this happening? Like, why am I like this? You know, why doesn't she love me the way I love her? Like, why does she, you know,
Yeah.
like, why? Like,
yeah.
Why? And yeah, it was a really ugly period.
Fuck yeah, because if you had never experienced anything like that leading up until that 1 year, it would be like, what the fuck has happened or changed in this year? Why this year's been fucking crazy for you, eh?
It was just an out the gate year.
Yeah.
And it was all kind of just, like, from start to finish. From start to finish, it was like my worst year. And it got better though. It got better.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, but wait, there's more. It gets better. So yeah, we were kind of like going through all those waves. I mean, it was a lot of reciprocal, you know, like, I was in, you know, it was me and then it was her and then it was me and then it was her.
Yeah.
But once all that court stuff was over, and, you know, I was lucky because I had no criminal record.
Yeah.
And I had a good job. And probably because I had a lawyer too. And, you know, the judge said, you know, stay away from this person, you know? Like, if you want to do well, you know, in this world, like, stay away from them. And because it was a woman, and like, I remember asking my lawyer, I'm like, tell me the truth. Is this judge gonna really, you know, judge me? Eh? You know, like, is she gonna judge me? Like, do I have to, like, wear, you know, a turtleneck and a suit to court? Like, what's the go? And he was just like, oh, she's pretty fair. And I'm like, yeah, but what's her take on domestic violence? Because it's big over there because of all the, you know, events that have happened over there.
Yeah.
And you know, my lawyer was like, nah, she'll be all good. So yeah, that really stuck. She was just like, you know, stay away. Like, if something's not good, just stay away from it.
Yeah.
You know, you've obviously got some characteristics there which make you, you know, you're a good person, but something's not working.
Yeah.
So, you know, just stay away from it. So from there, that happened. I was like, okay, I've got a clean slate now. I can start from the start.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, like from that last court appearance, my final court appearance, that was it. I was just like, I didn't want to, like, I wanted to get help. And we did. We got help. We found a psychologist, a clinical psychologist.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even just for, you know, what we were going through. Like, I actually wanted to learn why I was behaving like that, you know, what sets me off, what triggers me.
Triggers you, yeah.
You know, learn more about my trauma. And that's when we started embarking on, you know, seeing a psychologist. So we started off seeing a psychologist separately, and then we came together and did a couples session together.
So you still wanted to try to work together as a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in those sessions, I was actually learning more about, you know, her than I did in the last, like, 2 years that we were together in those sessions. And actually learning, whoa, like, I didn't know that you were, like, that you saw that growing up. like, oh, I didn't know that, you know, and then like actually, you know, paying attention and listening to what's, you know, like she's got her own story, you know, I've got mine, and, you know, I've got to learn more about my story and about why I'm, you know, this way. And that's what I really got to, you know, I really got into that. And it was at those sessions that that I learned, even though I kind of knew, but I learned that, you know, watching your brother when you're, you know, when you're 6, 7, 8, you know, watching him getting bashed by your dad for, you know, for playing up at school, whatever, that's not okay, you know. Watching my mum getting bashed, you know, for coming home drunk from a, you know, from a tangi, you know, those kind of things. And, you know, when, you know, the psychologist was like, yeah, no, that's traumatizing for a kid to see that. You know, how, you know, for you to even survive that upbringing, and for you to have, you know, for you to come this far, like, that's, you know, that's like, what did she say? Like, that's an achievement in itself, just being able to survive that. Especially because we're most vulnerable in those ages as well. So yeah, I really got to like dig deep and start, you know, realizing who I am. And we were good. And I kind of like, what we really done together was we kind of found things that helped us work together as like a team, instead of just like being
as two individuals.
Because we do have, like, she's an introvert and I'm an extrovert, obviously. I'm not shy. But we had to kind of like you know, see how we could coincide, like how our personalities could come together. And, you know, see, the thing with me is, you know, you can put me in a room with a whole bunch of people and, you know, you're all good. I'm all good. You know, I'll just adapt to whatever environment. And I don't know if it's because, you know, because I'm Māori and that's just how we work. But, you know, with her, it's a bit different. And we had to kind of like work together, and we found that with fitness. So we really got into our fitness, and we were like, you know, we were good. Like, we were actually working together, and like, you know, changed our whole lifestyle, changed our mindset. You know, her business was doing really well. Like, Mahi was well. She wasn't, you know, obviously she gave that up. But it was, you know, it was just the thing for me. I saw the potential in her, and I just often wondered, like, why? When, you know, when you've got so many, like, you know, you're so smart, you know, you've got all these skills, but you know,
not utilizing them in the right places.
Definitely. Like, you know, we're more than just that, you know. That's like, you know, this the world has so much more to offer. But yeah, that was all good. And then it wasn't until it was kind of, like, things were starting to kind of like creep up again. And it was kind of like, you know, a bit of jealousy, a bit of spitefulness. And then I could kind of see these changes, and I was just like, you know, what kind of conversations are you having, you know, with your psychologist? Like, are you all good? You know, like, you know, we've come this far, like, are you all good? And she likes to project, you know, and be like, oh, you know, oh yeah, you're like that because, you know, you're like that because you saw that as a kid, or, you know, because, oh, that's just, you know, that's traits from, you know, from your dad, or, you know, that's traits because, you know, this and that, and, you know, kind of like counsel me in a way. And I'm like, oh, are you a psychologist now? Kind of thing. I'm like, oh, like, I didn't know that you were Yeah, well,
right.
have you changed careers? But and it's just like you don't want to hear those things from your partner because you want to, you want to uplift your partner. And see, I'm one of those. I'm all about uplifting people.
That's kind of like fucking pointing out your flaws, eh? Being the first one to fucking catch you out and put you in a box, kind of chuck a label on you, kind of buzz.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because all these good things were happening to me, and like this, actually, just like even this year, a little bit at the end of last year, but mostly this year.
Yeah.
This was the year. And I really got into my fitness and all that. 1 in 45 challenge at the start of the year.
What name?
But see, all that, like it's still.
Sorry.
All good. It still wasn't like enough.
Yeah.
And, I could still see those traits, like this jealousy traits coming in and being like, it's like she couldn't be happy for me.
Yeah.
Even though we were a team. And just all this other stuff that I was kind of like manifesting. I was just like, man, I really want to get, the fitness that's been achieved. Like I'm on the straight and narrow with that. And then it was now getting back into my reo, because I'm passionate about our language and I'm passionate about our culture too. So that was something that I was wanting to get into as well. And I was kind of just like figuring out, how am I going to do this? But then I kind of realized, well, I can't do that in Australia. Like I need to come home and pursue that. And there were discussions there where I was like, we should move home. And there were talks of, even though we'd gone through all that, like we were talking about family, all that, hard. Because she wants to have kids, so do I. Like I want to have kids.
Yeah.
And there was a discussion like, we should probably think about moving home, but she didn't want to move home. She's got no plans on moving home. And I'm like, that's all good. Like, your life is here. If that's where you see your life, then that's Katie Pai. But my life is back home. Like, I feel like my calling is starting like with back home. And and I was kind of like a part of all these little projects over there. I was a part of Runway Movement, which is like a queer people of colour, like it's basically just like all Polynesians.
Yeah.
And we used to like do events and stuff, like cultural performances and all that. Yeah, hard. And that was, again, another good thing for me to stay connected. But it was also another thing that I know she kind of envied that, because she was just like, how can I, like, where do I fit in? And I tried to bring her into that culture, because I was always like that, like, come to one of our meetups or whatever. And that, the last performance I did with Runway Movement, that's when I really knew, because it was a cultural set that we had to do. So me and one of the sissies, who's over there, we were like, okay, so what are we going to do? It's got to be really good. And he was like, oh, should we do something like, I don't know, like, do you want to do poi? And I'm like, I'm not big on poi. And he was like, well, what else do you want to do? I'm like, I feel like I'm going to do Modako. And he was like, oh, okay, do your thing with your Modako then. So we did it to Macy Rika, and it was then that I really felt like, after that performance. And I remember saying to them, they were like, man, that was something else, eh? And I was like, it definitely was something else. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go home. I feel like as soon as those borders open, I'm going. And they were like, hey. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't know what it was, but that's really just pulled me to going home, eh? And went home, and Chris was like we we were having our discussion about, you know, that. And we ended up having an argument that week, and it led me to going to my mates, and we kind of like had a night apart. And it wasn't a good. I went back home, she came home, and then she went off to an event, came home, so we kind of like spent that weekend apart. And I was hungover when she got home, and I went and ordered me a kai from the cafe that was just like down from our building. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go and get a coffee. And I was like, oh okay. She was like, do you want anything? And I'm like, nah, I've ordered me a kai. But you know, that was me being petty as well. Like, you know, I wasn't like, because we weren't talking, and because, you know, I can be real petty. Like, I'm like, if we ain't talking, I'm not feeding you.
Yeah.
Like, you know, one of those ones. And so I went down to the cafe to go and get my kai, and I got there to the counter, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, order for tea. And they were like, when did you order? I'm like, oh, I phoned up. They're like, your order's not here. Someone's already picked it up. And because she was waiting for her coffee. And because I was hungover, and like, I'm the worst person to be around when I'm hungover. I'm like, you do not, like, I don't see anyone when I'm hungover. And I could see her, she was standing there, she had a box in her hand. And I was like, does she have my order? And they were like, oh yeah, she said it, like it was, and I was like, okay. And they were like, oh, we didn't know. And I was like, no, all good. So I walked over there, and I go, did you pick up my order? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, well, can I please have it? And she was like, no.
Oh my God.
And I was like, Crystal, I was like, please give me my order. Give me my order. And she was like, no, just order another one. Oh. And like, you know that? And I was like, because I just had no time that morning, no time. Like, I was hungry, you know, tired, sore head, everything. Like, you know, feeling like the world's about to end.
No time for games.
Yeah, no time for it. Like, I just want to eat.
Playing some game shit right there.
Like, I just want to eat my BLT. Just hand it over. So I snatched it from her, Like, I snatched it from her hand in front of everyone. And, like, you know, the chips were flying everywhere. You know, snatched it out of her hand, walked up to the apartment, with my BLT. Yeah, ate the rest of it. You know, I was eating away. She walks in, and because I already knew, like, that would, like, she would not be happy that I made a scene, because that's a cafe that we go to all the time too. She comes in and she goes, why the fuck did you do that? Why did you have to do that? Like, what, you know, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? You know I'm hungry. You knew that I was ordering food. You know? And so she came up to me and she punched me in the head.
Oh, yeah.
Punched me in the head. And I was like, are you okay? So she punched me again, and I was like, nah. The BLT went flying. And I think that's what really got me going, because I was like 2 bites deep. I was 2 bites deep, and the BLT was on the ground. And I was like, nah. And like, for that long period from my last court date to now, I'd gone that long without showing that other side of me. And she brought that out of me
provoked
again.
It,
And I really didn't want to. But, it happened again. And I really, we got into an altercation. She called the police, even though I begged her not to. And what she said to me was, you're fucking going to jail for this.
Oh my God.
And I was like, wow. So the cops came again, and I was like, deja vu again. And then, funnily enough, one of the cops, like, he already knew the situation. He's like, really? Again? You're really going through this? Again? Like, have you not learnt from all those other times that it just doesn't work? And we both were separated again, gave our own statements. I gave mine. She gave hers. And they didn't arrest me, but they wanted us to, like, they were just like, they made, like, they gave us the decision. And what he said, like, what he left us with was, it's just not working. It's not working. This is not good. It's toxic.
Yeah.
Yous cannot live together. Like, no matter what yous do. So from that point on, I realised, like, even though there were, like, so many other points, I realised that, I've got to go. Because we're not working, because we've got our own journeys. We got to heal ourselves first before we start trying to,
come together.
or but
Just sounds like just repeating over and over, eh?
yeah, it was repeating. And it was just like, it doesn't matter, like, even though, like, I believe going to a psychologist and talking about how things trigger you and all that, like, it works. But I also think that it's within ourselves.
Yeah.
Like,
hard.
Like,
You can't just rely on them to fix you as well. Fuck, you got to put in the mahi too on your own fucking self, eh?
hard.
So what did you do after that?
Oh, well, now I'm home.
Oh,
Yeah. But it was, like, it wasn't a decision I made easily. I wasn't like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm packing my bags up now and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Like, it was hard. And, like, in the, what would it have been? Probably, like, month leading up to me coming home. Like, we were good. We left on good terms. Like, there was no bad wairua there. Like, for that time that, and I think it's a good thing that we left on good terms, because it's made me feel a lot more at ease about being home. Knowing that, I've left on good terms. You need to heal, and you need to figure things out for you, and I need to do the same with me. Like you said, you've got to put the work in. And I feel like there was work being put in, but it was only one-sided. The energy was being, I don't know, invested elsewhere. But so it's been a bit of a roller coaster of the past 3 years for me.
Yeah. You're not running into a relationship anytime soon?
Definitely not. A relationship with myself. Yeah, that's the relationship that I really need.
So what are your plans now that you're home, like, to keep yourself busy and all of that?
Just mahi. I was really lucky because I found mahi straight away.
Yeah.
And just basically just reconnecting. I've really, really channeled all my, like, I really just honed in on getting back into my Māoritanga.
Yeah.
So just, reconnecting, just even basic things like, going back to the marae, and, doing all those things that our old people, did when when they were my age.
Yeah.
Because it's starting to kind of, like,
Dwindle,
disappear, but well, not disappear, but it's kind of like, it's toru toru noiho. I can't find the
Yeah.
the Pākehā word for it, but yeah, it's just it's slowly, becoming minimal. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. I've just really just been focusing on me and just getting myself into a better place.
And what's that like to wake up and just fully just be focusing on you and what the fuck you're up to for your days and
Amazing.
and eating all your BLTs to yourself?
Oh, there's been no BLT since then. But no, it's actually been really good, and it's been good because there's no expectations from me. You know, the expectation was just coming home, and just being me. And I think that's the thing. I think that was that was my biggest issue. Was I kept being told that, oh, you got to change, you got to be this, you got to be that. Oh, but you're too angry. Why are you this? Why are you that? Oh, it's because, you saw that growing up, so you think it's normal. Well, nah, I don't need to change who I am, because that's what makes me who I am.
Yeah.
That is who I am. I wouldn't change my upbringing. I wouldn't say that my upbringing was okay, like the things that I experienced, but without those experiences, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I kind of have to, acknowledge that side of me, and maybe it's not me changing, maybe it's just being my authentic self. And just kind of, and like finding someone who, well, not finding someone, but maybe I'm made for someone who's more, who knows and appreciates who I am. Yeah, because I felt like I changed a lot going to Aussie. We changed facades over there to fit in, and I don't want to fit in. Like I don't feel like I need to fit in to be comfortable. We should just be able to be ourselves, and like that's what it's like back home.
Oh, me, man. Do you have anything that you want to say to anyone that may be going in around and round and round like you were at that stage?
Talk to people. Don't stay quiet about these things. Don't be whakama, don't be ashamed of it. It took me a bit of courage. I feel like there's a bit of relief there. Like this weight's off my shoulder. But yeah, talk to people. If it's going to a professional, like I'm still seeing someone even here, because I think it's a good outlet for me. Talk to people. Don't be ashamed, and find a passion. Find something that encourages you to wake up every morning. Something that gives you purpose, because that will distract you from anything, bad or, whatever it is. But just find a passion, and whatever it is, just really focus on it. Like for me, that's been my biggest distraction. Like it's been hard. Transitioning from living over there to then coming back here. Like it's been hard, but I've just been so focused on just, bettering myself, getting myself back into a better place.
Morning, man.
Yeah.
Well, just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And we wish you nothing but the best, but I can already tell. You on, girl, you on.
We on.
We on. All right then, thank you.
Ngā mihi.